What's up, guys? It's Brandon Flash. Today I'm going to be answering one of the most commonly asked questions that I get. Why did I purchase a Volkswagen ID.4 instead of a Tesla Model Y? And now you're joining me inside the ID.4, and we're going to talk about one of the most commonly asked questions that I get. Why did I buy the Volkswagen ID.4 instead of a Tesla Model Y? And it comes down to quite a few factors, but first I want to address the most obvious one. The ID.4 is $20,000+ cheaper than a Tesla Model Y. I realize it wasn't quite that much at the time that I purchased the ID.4, or more specifically leased the ID.4, but that's also a factor. We'll get into that in a moment. But right now, to get a base Tesla Model Y long-range all-wheel drive, it's now over $60,000 with destination for a base no-option long-range all-wheel drive. Whereas you can actually get a base rear-wheel drive, which I realize not 100% comparable, but base to base ID.4 Pro rear-wheel drive for just over $40,000 before federal tax credit. So when you factor that in, it's over $27,000 cheaper base to base. And I don't know about you, but $27,000 is a fair amount of change for me. And that's an entire car. I've purchased multiple cars, or multiple of the cars that I've owned actually could be purchased together in that price difference. So for most people, $27,000, big deal. Adding on to that, I've driven the Model Y pretty extensively. If you watch my Tesla Vision video, I spent an entire weekend with one, put a few hundred miles on it. I've driven them other times as well. So I've spent plenty of time behind the wheel of the Model Y. And I've just never been happy with the ride from the Model Y. I just think it's really rough. If it was a sports car, that suspension would make sense, but it's not a sports car. It's a family hauling small SUV, and while the ride isn't too terrible for someone like me that's generally just driving myself around and does hoon around a bit, when I'm out on a road trip, I like to have a comfortable car. I don't want to be shaken about or end up with my back sore by the time I get to my destination, or feel like I have to stretch just from sitting so long. And the ID.4 has really compliant suspension. It's really comfortable, but it still handles well, which is a balance that a lot of manufacturers struggle to meet. And Volkswagen and just the German engineering, they've made it that not only does it ride really comfortably, but it still handles well. I mean, not to say it doesn't have body roll and it doesn't move around a bit. It's not a sports car. It's not trying to be. But if you're out on a mountain road, on a road trip, or you just want to go out and drive, it's not going to let you down. It's not going to roll all around or be a boat. It handles fine. It has massaging seats, which I use all the time. I love them. They're not like full-on shiatsu massage like some of the higher-end cars have with like the hot stone simulated massage, but it just moves the lumbar up and down, which doesn't sound like much, but it actually makes quite a bit of difference in road trip comfort. I use it pretty much every time I'm in the car. Another factor which may not apply for everyone, and especially depending on the region with the ID.4, is that at least at the time I was purchasing or leasing this one, I was able to find this one on a lot. We sold Kaylee's Tesla on a Friday. We found this one that same afternoon, reached out to the dealership, put in a credit application, all that fun stuff, and then picked it up the very next day. As of right now, you're looking at next year or possibly even 2023 for a new Tesla, which, I mean, if you have patience and you don't need a car right away, by all means, if that's fine, go for it. But personally for me, I needed a car at that point, and especially with Teslas constantly changing. Another factor with the Volkswagen ID.4 is 3 years of free Electrify America charging, and not just 30-minute sessions like some cars like the Taycan, the e-tron GT, the Polestar 2, which, mind you, the Polestar 2 didn't have any free charging at the time that we got the ID.4, or that may have been more of a contender for us, but still the Polestar is a fair bit more expensive. But that's a different video. But 3 years of free charging for us with road tripping is actually a pretty appealing prospect. If you've watched any of our videos, any of the road trip videos we just made with the ID.4, having free charging saves us quite a bit of money. We just did 4,400 miles, and it cost us about $16 in charging the entire time. And most of that $16 was just out of convenience, not because we had to. We could have done the entire trip on Electrify America or free charging if we really wanted to. Another factor, not as important for me, but the Volkswagen ID.4 is just built better than a Model Y. And I realize Tesla has gotten better in many regards as far as their build quality, and tiny differences in panel gaps are not the end of the world to me. However, I like to be able to shut the doors and have it sound solid. I like the power liftgate with the kick sensor. Lack of a frunk really isn't a big deal to me. And I like to support companies coming out with new technology and pioneering into new markets. And I think Volkswagen is really putting a large presence support into the EV market, which obviously Tesla pioneered to a large extent. But it's good to support those companies that are coming out with those electric vehicles, and especially ones that are targeted towards general masses and not just expensive cars like some manufacturers are coming out with. As Volkswagen says, the ID.4 is the electric car for the millions rather than for the millionaires, which I'm not a millionaire, so I guess I'm part of that millions. If you haven't already, definitely take a look at our 2-month review of the ID.4 as well as the road trip recap I just made. I go into a lot more depth on a lot of these topics. I talk about how the ID.4 app is terrible, some improvements I would like to see on it, but overall I think the ID.4 is a better car, whereas the Tesla Model Y is a better computer that happens to be a car. So it just comes down to what matters to you, and for me, I like having a car that drives really well. I've owned a lot of cars that drive really well, Porsche Boxster, Honda S2000, manual rear-wheel drive BMW wagons, and I really appreciate a car that drives well as a car. So if you found this helpful, comment down below. Hopefully it did. If you want to see more content, if you have any suggestions on videos you'd like to see, again, comment down below, message me on Instagram, whatever is easiest. And hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next time.